Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel and welcome back to an extremely requested video. Today's video is something a little bit different to anything that I've posted in the past, but you guys wanted it, so today I'm going to be talking you through my placement folder. Now this folder is my placement folder from last year. It was my third year second semester placement that I kept this folder on, and I'm actually starting my next placement tomorrow as I am filming this. So I'm literally going to show you what's in this folder and then going to gut it out and restart for this year. I feel like I'm going to have a lot to say in this video, so I'm not going to ramble on in this intro, we're just going to get straight into it. And this here is my folder. Now the folder itself is a University of Aberdeen one. This isn't for any reason other than when I remembered that I needed to buy one I was on campus, so I just went to the uni shop and I bought this one, hence why it's fancy. I probably should have just like walked into town and got one for a lot cheaper from WH Smith's, but it was convenient and I also feel like it looks pretty cute, not gonna lie. So the folder itself is a lever arch file, one of these bad boys. I would definitely recommend getting the lever arch ones as opposed to the regular like skinnier ones, because they will fill up way too fast. Like this thing doesn't even close anymore, and this was a 5-week placement, so definitely get a big boy. Splash out that extra few p. So basically throughout this video I'm just going to go through my folder, talk a little bit about how I've organised it and what's in each section. I will put overlays over because it's going to be so difficult for me to try and like show this folder to you. But yeah, first things first, when you open it, look how cute this is, I've got a card. Basically I just popped this in the front of the folder because I wanted to keep it. I got given this card from my teacher and my class on the last day, and as you can see I have this little one and one that they actually made for me. I doubt you're going to be able to see this as it is, but one of the boys in the class was quite the artist, so he made this card and everyone's signed on the inside of it, which I'm obviously not going to show you for security reasons. I feel like here's also a good place to mention that yes, I have gone through this folder meticulously. I've scored out the name of the school and the name of my class teacher wherever it has appeared in my folder, and any of the names of the children shouldn't be written down in your folder anyway, so that's not a problem. I just wanted to mention that because I feel like this is something that I was kind of worried about when I thought about doing this in the first place, but I have gone through, I've made sure that everything is entirely confidential, so we're staying on the right side of the law. But yeah, before we get any further into the video, I do just want to mention that, as you can see, I have organised my folder with dividers. Dividers are extremely important. Get yourself some of these if you don't already, because they really help just keep things in order. Also, on the other side of my folder, I just stuck down this little like to-do list here, and I would highly recommend doing something like that, whether it is like a pre-made to-do list thing like what I've got, or just like sticky notes. Definitely pop them down, because if you ever need to note down anything quickly, that's a good place to put anything. So skipping past the cards, when you first open the folder, the first thing that I had down was the kind of monthly timetable for when I was there. This is the full school timetable. It's one that everyone got, and it's just kind of a general outline of any main events that are happening in the school, any school trips, visits, things like that, and I've highlighted all of the bits that are relevant to me or the class that I was in. After that, I then have my placement tasks. Now this is probably one of the most important things to get into your folder before you head out. Our uni basically put all of our placement tasks into a Word document. I then printed that out, highlighted the kind of main point of each task so that I would kind of know what I was doing just at a glance, and I just kind of ticked off when I'd done it, and it really helped me keep on top of things. And after that we then get on to the dividers, the different sections of my folder. And basically the way that I organised my folder was, at the very front I had all of my assessment stuff. I put this at the front just so that it was something that I saw every single day, so that I would remember to do everything, that nothing would get lost, and I feel like this worked quite well. My next section was then for my prop forms, my daily reflections, which were a kind of vital part of placement, and then I chose to organise the rest of my folder by weeks. I feel like this is where your folder can differ quite a bit from anyone else's. I know quite a few people like to organise it by like category rather than week, but I thought that organising it by week would kind of keep all the relevant stuff in the right place, and it would also show a better progression. So that's just how I've chosen to do it. There's no right or wrong way, but yeah. The last two tabs down the bottom are then my class, school and community information. I'm not going to show that to you in this video because obviously that would then entirely give away which school I was at, but this was a little vital part that we had to add into our folder. I suppose it's just to kind of show that you've taken interest in the school and the community, but in these sections was kind of just class information, a class list, any specific details of any needs that the children have. I also had stuff like the behaviour policy, the bullying policy and things like that. So now that we've gone for the little kind of general run through of the folder, I thought we'd kind of go into each section in a little bit more detail, starting with the assessment section. So this section remained fairly empty throughout the majority of my placement because obviously the assessment came towards the end. But all I have in here is the self-evaluation form, which basically just lets you see the standard for provisional registration at a glance. It then leaves a space blank for you to make connections throughout your folder so you can show where you've achieved certain criteria throughout your placement. This is something that I didn't really bother about in the first few weeks, and it was kind of just in the lead up to my tutor visit and as I was getting more and more information into my folder that I then started to make these connections. I then have the actual like formal assessment sheet thing. So I have the report that was written by my visiting tutor, the report that was written by my teacher. The full assessment sheet is based off of the standard for provisional registration, and you would either be awarded satisfactory or unsatisfactory. And then on the following page, that is where you got like your comments and your next steps and stuff. This is the only bit that I'm not going to show, not because I don't want to, but purely because there is a lot of like sensitive information in relation to my school and the pupils in the class, so I'm going to keep that bit to myself. But yeah, that is all I had in the assessment section. As I said, it was very empty for the majority of my placement. But then on to the prop forms. The prop forms are basically just like a weekly tracker to kind of keep you focused and make sure that you're constantly trying to like grow from what you're learning. You have to go through your strengths and weaknesses, and then the teacher does the exact same and you agree goals for the next week. With these prop forms, I would write them on a Friday after I'd finished a week at school. I would then send it to my teacher, and on the Monday morning / like afternoon, we would then talk over it, agree our next steps, and then we would send the final thing over to the visiting tutor. The prop form is the only thing that the visiting tutor asks to see throughout the placement, and it's kind of just to make sure that you're on track and that everyone's happy with what you're doing. There's a good few prop forms there. One thing that I do think is important to mention, however, is just at the back of the prop form section, I also printed out a full copy of the standard for provisional registration. This is it here, and it just kind of like outlines all of the standard and all of the things that's kind of expected of you as a student teacher and stuff. And I feel like it was really useful just having a copy of this in my folder because it made it easy when I was doing my daily reflections and my prop forms. It basically just stopped me needing to go in and open up the file on my laptop every single night, and I do a lot better when information is like physically in front of me, so that's just like a personal choice. And the next section is my daily reflections section, and these are the bugbear of every student teacher, I think. Honestly, daily reflections, I am not the biggest fan of daily reflections. I understand why they are important, but they take up a lot of time. Daily reflections are quite a personal thing. We're not told exactly how to do them. It's just entirely up to you and what works for you. And what I ended up doing was breaking it into 3 different sections. So number 1 was, what did I learn today? And this is where I put down anything from an experience that I had that I learned from, or a learning conversation that I had with someone. If I'd maybe implemented like a certain theory or something and it had worked quite well, I'd write it down there. Number 2 is then, what did I do well today? And then you obviously had to provide evidence to support that. Section number 3 is, what did not go well today? And again, I would just write down the experience that I had and how I plan to build on it or learn from in the future. And then at the very end, I would put down any links to the standard for provisional registration. So I'd maybe choose 2 or 3 different standards that I feel related to that day and write down any evidence for why I thought that was. And then we hop right on in to the different weeks of placement. Now, as you can see, the dividers for the different weeks are all different colours, and I actually luckily had a highlighter that matched up to each kind of week. So this really helped to keep things planned out, and when I then did my self-evaluation, I was able to use the coloured highlighters to like easily see which week it related to. So week 1 was blue. So for these different weeks, I organised my folder in very similar ways. I just found a way that worked for me. So first off, I would have a kind of little jot down sheet. Anything that was happening, I could throw it onto that page, and it was just where I kind of brain farted a little bit. This is where I'd write down any tasks that I was doing that day, any lessons that I was going to be responsible for, or anything like that. This was also really easy just to kind of see my week at a glance, and when I was planning for the next day or the next few days, I'd be able to see what I had to do. I would then have my timetables for the week, whether this was a printed one, a written one, whether it was the teacher's timetable or one of my own. I would also highlight the different bits again that I would be responsible for. So as you can see, in week 1 I had like a few different areas I was going to be teaching or different groups I was going to be taking, and if we then skip to week 5, that got a little bit more heavy. By the time you get to week 5, you're expected to be able to do like continuous days teaching. So I was doing like the Monday to Wednesday solo, and then like a few lessons here and there throughout like the last few days. It is crazy to see like just how much has changed from week 1 to week 4 and 5. Like I got so much more to do, and I felt a lot more confident in my teaching. Like I was taking days at a time, doing all of the daily management stuff as well, and I loved it. So after the timetables, I then get into the lesson plans, and I was literally just putting these lesson plans in the order that I was doing them. I'll overlay a few little clips of some different lesson plans I've done just to kind of show you how I've laid them out, but they're all extremely similar. I've laid them all out in the exact same way, and I tend to just pop the lesson plan in, and then if I got any evidence from the lesson, I would pop that in just after the lesson plan. I tended to do this by taking pictures of the children's work and kind of arranging them in a Word document, and I would leave space to write my own comments and how the work related to the success criteria. I felt like this was a good exercise and like a good use of my time because it allowed me to see what a successful piece of work looks like and where I could maybe work on something with some pupils. As you'll probably be able to see as well, when I have taken pictures of people's work and put them into my folder, if they've written their names on it, I've just like put a little black box over it so that it's all like anonymous and confidential. Also, in amongst my lesson plans, I'll occasionally have little notes that I've taken either in the lead up to delivering the lesson or after the lesson. This was kind of just for my own use to make connections and try and make sense of what I was going to teach and how I was going to move learning on from one area to another. And also, if I was using any resources, I would also just stick a copy of that in beneath the lesson plan as well. I also feel like this then makes more sense when you're looking through the folder and you can see the activity that the children are actually doing. But yeah, that is just the way that I kind of like to organise my weeks, and as the weeks went on and I started to do like daily management plans, I would slot them in as well. Before this placement, I had never had to do a daily management plan before, but I actually really like having them. I feel like it makes you understand what needs to happen more, and it kind of sets out the day's routine as well as just the lessons that you're doing. I feel like especially when it came to doing like a full day's teaching at a time, having a daily management plan was really useful because it helped to just keep things understandable and kind of all there at a glance. And with that comes the end of the folder. Other than that, I only have the school, class and community information, which again, I'm not going to show in this video. So yeah, that is what my little placement folder looked like. I am extremely happy with how it turned out, and I feel like that compared to the one that I kept the semester before, you can really see how much more use I've been able to make of keeping the folder. I feel like now I definitely understand its purpose more, and I've found what works for me in the way that I like to get involved in the classroom. As I've mentioned a few times throughout this video, your placement folder is completely personal, so don't think that this is like the only way that you need to do your folder. Obviously as well, different universities and even different tutors want to see different things from your folder, so go off of what they say, not what I say. If you guys did enjoy this video, please give it a big thumbs up, not that you can choose the size. And if you are not already subscribed to my channel, please do hit the subscribe button. It would mean the absolute world, and if you like these types of videos, there's plenty more where those are coming from, so keep coming back for more. Anyway, I'm going to head now. I'm going to film these overlays and then get started on my new folder. So I will catch you guys later. Goodbye.